All right, so using ways to create space, let's look at some ways that common mistakes are made and some of the proper ways to do things. So I'm going to fold my paper in half just to demonstrate on one side how not to do things or how little kids would do things. On the other side, the proper way to do things. So one of the first things we can start with is a horizon line. Easy way to do it is to put it right in the middle. But you will notice that a lot of artists use a lower or higher horizon line in their paintings or other works. It's a little bit more interesting, but just for ease of creation, we'll just put a horizon line right across the middle. Right? The horizon line separates the ground from the sky. It represents the farthest edge of the earth that we can see. So this is supposed to be the farthest away we can see. If we're doing an interior space, this could also be the floor and the wall. Right? Little kids will, like let's say we're drawing just a corny little house. Little kids will often draw their house right on the horizon line. Right? Not so good, because that means the house is on the edge of the earth and it's going to fall off. Okay? So what you want to do is place your objects or your subject grounded on the horizon, right? Not on the ground, below the horizon. So you want to have the base of it starting below the horizon. If it extends over the horizon, that's fine, as long as it's connected below somewhere, right? So it can go higher if the building is higher. Just start below. So that's one common mistake. Another common mistake is when let's say they draw a tree back here, and then they'll draw another tree back over here. These trees are roughly the same size. What we know from methods to create spaces, size change is one way to show space. So a tree that's up here will appear smaller as it moves away, and even smaller still as it moves towards that horizon. So essentially it would disappear over the horizon because it's so far away, right? So you should see a size change as things move away. This also shows us location, right? Generally, the bottom of the page are things that are closest to the viewer. And as you move up the page, things move away from the viewer. Okay? So this tree is closer to the bottom, therefore it's closer to me. This tree is moving up the page and is farther away from me. And that continues here. These can also be referred to as the grounds. We have the foreground, things that are closest, middle ground, things that are slightly farther away but still within focus, and then the background, which comprises things that are the farthest away in the image. So far we have location, size. Another way to create the illusion of space is overlapping. That's an easy one. Okay, so little kids will tend to separate things. So let's say there's a bush in front of the house. They might put it to the side of the house, right? They won't stack things on top of each other. They'll kind of set things in a row. What we can do is, if there's a bush in front of the house, even on both sides, we can overlap, show that one object is in front of the other. Very simple. One object covers the other, so you can't see what's behind it. Overlapping. That's another method. Additional method is detail. Something that's closer, we're going to be able to make out more of the details. Let's say this tree, I'm able to make out some of the finer branches, maybe some of the texture of the leaves, little bird's nest in there, or anything else that might be happening. As things move away, I can still see some of the detail, but they become more generalized. And as they get really far away, I start to lose all of that detail. So things sort of fall out of focus the farther away they get. You can control that. Two more methods. One is color intensity. So let's say I had a series of mountains, right? So these are pretty large. And then behind them, I have some more mountains, which are in the distance, and some farther ones beyond that. The mountains that are closest to me might appear darker. The color is going to be more intense. Right? So if I was using value, or I could be using color like blues or grays. But as the mountains in the background move away, there's more atmosphere between us and them. There's more air, and the air is made up of different particles and things, and some of those particles refract the light. They cause the light to bounce around, meaning that the things that are farther away become less clear, less intense, kind of get muddied up a little bit. You may notice this when you look at distant buildings or distant houses. They seem a little bit hazier. So the intensity is one way to control the depth of something. And the last one is what we call perspective. That involves a vanishing point and a ruler, and you may have done that in other classes. I won't go too much into that. It's a lesson all by itself. But if you understand that lines, in theory, can converge on a point on the distance, right, representing the focal point or the vanishing point, that's perspective. And if you're familiar with that technique, you can use that as well, right? Even the little dashes on the road get smaller as they move away. So those are some of the basic ways to create space. Little kids won't use perspective. They'll treat the road like that, where everything is the same. So using methods to create space, very simple image. Not using methods to create space, represents everything, but not realistically. This is where we want to go. Good luck.